Hi ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Genshin Impact. It's your boy, overheating all the time, this is a cold pack. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about the Raiden Shogun, my first impressions. I am trying to double dip into videos, hate me if you desire. It's fair. I do plan on making a video when I finally have her finalized, revving to go with the catch, the everything. But I also want to talk to you guys about how to me, there's a lot of stuff going on within the community right now, such as people saying that the Raiden Shogun is not incredibly strong. And there is one thing that I do think is valid, which is why does she not work with Baal? It almost seems like she absolutely should. She has a specific shitty constellation that only gives you 15 bonus damage, basically. Kinda just weakened to your element reaction, which is okay, but not like impossibly good. And it's something that the Raiden Shogun can use, but for whatever reason she doesn't. But yet Shincho, only becoming more and more valuable, does really work with just about all the things that she is. So it's just kind of weird, odd, not cool, all that. Also, I broke a blood vessel in my eye, so fun things. Always looking at screens, forgetting to blink. Sorry. So yes, I agree with the sense that the Raiden Shogun should work with Baal. It just seems weird that she isn't, and the fact that this could have been a way for Baal to become even more valuable within team composition, but now it seems like she's second place again in some weird ways, just because her synergy butts up against another character, making them just not work together, which they should, especially when she debuffs electro damage, so which is weird. Anyway, especially when she's not debuffing electro damage by like 40%, it's by 15, so it's not like we're asking a lot here. Okay, but essentially, for those guys who do not know, Baido's ult works off of normal attacks hitting, and because I don't know why Shincho works, but basically ult does not count as normal attacks. It counts as ult damage, so that I guess that just doesn't work. It's weird. And now this thing is burning through my skin. Ow. Okay, I just wanted a little bit of a cool down, huh? But the other thing with Baal that's really interesting is no one really yet can determine her power. Now, yes, whales have gotten a max refined of her best weapon, so yeah, she's good enough with that. But of course, who wouldn't be with an R5 weapon that's a 5-star weapon? Anyways, but the one thing that people are not able to do, and are very, very much not able to do, is level up her talents past 6, because they require this new thing. So unless you get maybe max 2 of these, maybe 3, I don't know, I don't even think I've heard of people getting 3, but maybe you do, you're only gonna be able to level up this thing like twice, and you're gonna want to level up both of these skills, because they're both very, very valuable, and seemingly evolve pretty hard. Again, this is a great example of like mass utility, mass helpfulness, where it's not just increasing its base impact damage for your E, which is amazing, it's also buffing up by a pretty decent margin your coordinated attack. And I think when you get to this towards its end, I think it goes up to like 90 to maybe 84 multiplicative damage, which is awesome, especially when considering this thing is AoE based, like big AoE based, and is on a less than a second timer, which is different than all the other characters that have coordinated attack kind of abilities. Anyways, not only that, but it's also increasing your elemental burst damage for your characters when this is equipped, which is fantastic. And this thing has 25 seconds of duration and 10 seconds of cooldown, meaning it has insane uptime. So this is an ability that in every way is really, really, really good, and only becomes more valuable in 6 different ways. Very, very similar to characters that come to mind is, where is she? Got so many characters at this point. Hu Tao, where when you increase this, it doesn't just increase her HP, it increases her attack scaling based on her HP, and also her bloom damage, and all of those things, and also its durations. I think they say the same. But yeah, all that stuff. Same thing with this, where it's not just one thing. It's your skills damage, but it's also your skills damage when you're low health, but it's also your skills damage to regenerate your health, and it's even more of that when you actually get your health lower. So it's just there's multiple scaling things there, whereas characters like this, it's just one thing. It's just one thing, and that's it. And yeah. And yeah. Anyways, that aside, we will make a video probably on that in the future. Yoimiya very much works with Baal because she attacks so quickly. I have not tested her because I'm not brave enough to do it yet with Hu Tao, who I'm thinking will be good. with her as well. But again, Yoimiya has range, and her E can transcend range by a lot. So that's its own thing. But, and this is the other thing that people are talking about, whereas they're like, yes, her E is wildly helpful. It kind of just makes your other characters good too. So it's not even just that it's good like damage-wise, which it's okay damage-wise, but it's good because it helps your other team's ults hit harder, just kind of free of charge. And it does decent scaling when you just whip it out and hit people. And again, one thing that people aren't talking enough about this ability is the amount of weird stagger that this thing has. And it's weird. The amount of times an enemy, just because it's AoE Electro, I think it throws people around so much to where you're weirdly like getting a stupid high debuff in your damage because enemies are getting tossed around like a lot. Anyways, then we have this ability, which now it's pretty easy-ish to accrue stacks of resolve, although I wish there was more of a percentage gain. Like, I wish when you had max resolve stacks, or at least half, you could fucking body some people, and maybe when you level it up it gets somewhat better, but it just feels like it doesn't have enough of like a stacking yield right now. But yes, this thing, even though it says like 600k is its casting base attack, which is good and only going to get potentially better, it's the following up stacks of damage, which are good. Okay, you know, but they do sometimes feel like they don't have enough bite, but I think that's because our girl has an absolute boatload, and I mean boatload, of AoE damage. And I feel like the way this character is going to be played in the future is, as you guys can see here, every single time we impact with our katana, she's going to be passively giving our team more and more energy recharge for our whole team. And this goes pretty far. So, to me, I don't know, I feel like if you were to break down the Raiden Shogun as a complete and utter support character, where she's going to have an amazing E with a shit ton of uptime that staggers an enemy, that amplifies your other character's ult damage, which is insane utility, but then also has an ult that does okay damage, but in a stupid radius, and also is made to give your other characters back energy, then that is to me what she is. And then she can kind of, a little bit, with like a little sprinkle, deal some burst damage, especially with her initial cast of this ability, which is going to scale up higher and higher and higher, based on the resolve stacks and all these things. But I do think, again, when people were first seeing this character, they're like, this is the first like Archon that's going to be a DPS. And it feels like, especially with like the leveraging of her kit, it seems like she can do a little bit of damage, or an okay bit of huge AoE damage, but she's mainly there to just be additive on top of your kit if you're putting pressure on the fact that her ult should just be used as an energizer bunny to energize your other character's ultimate bursts, as well as use her E to just do multiplicative damage, as well as amplify your bursts as well, allowing you to get to your burst faster and allowing your ult to hit harder. So this puts a very, very big yield on characters that seemingly synergize really well with her. Everyone besides Bido. So, by the way, I may have been saying Baal instead of Bido, forgive me. But yeah, Shincho has a long-ass alteration, and it just slaps. It's fantastic, and you should utilize it. It also has a lot of cost, so it's going to be giving Yoimiya a little, or not Yoimiya, Baal more resolve stacks, allowing her to shred things faster, all that good stuff. We'll show all this in a minute, by the way, sorry. Another character, which I am massively considering building now, which is already weirdly built, because I leveled her up, because she was my main DPS when I first started. She's level 70, it's okay. But yeah, I have a really high constellation, so I'll be able to maybe get more out of her. Regardless, she, with the new artifact set, the one that buffs ultimate damage, is really good now, and also really good for for Baal, because this costs 80% and also lasts a pretty decent amount of time, especially if you have her at C4. You get a little bit less downtime with her kit, and also her little Goba generates a shit ton of particles, which is going to intrinsically help all of your other characters get particles back as well. Any character where like official, she works really well, because Goba, every single time he poofs his fire, which I believe does like 2 or 3 times, it's going to give a particle to your on-field person, or the person that doesn't have enough energy recharge at the moment, which is incredibly useful. Similar to Oz, Oz constantly generates stupid particles for everybody in her team, making him like a weird energy bunny. But this is good for characters that are going to have fire utility. and there might be a character coming down the pipeline that does this and other amazing things. We'll get into it in a little bit, but regardless, she should be able to play with him and synchronize with him as well. So good stuff there. So again, her and Shincho already play really well within each other. But other characters that you could go with is not Baido, because Baido doesn't work with the Raiden Shogun when she uses her alt, although she could kind of work if you're using any other character, like Yoimiya, kind of, but again, I don't know why you wouldn't just use a Shincho or other characters, or like even a Kaya, just building up the shit ton of his alt stacks. But yes, Shincho, huge. Ganyu, incredible as well. Of course, Xiangling, fantastic as well. And Venti. Venti being a huge outlier in this, so in fact, let's go mess around with the Raiden Shogun and just see how she pairs with other characters, which, again, already, she's really spicy. Really, like, get the fuck out of my way, I'm gonna rip your throat out, done. Kind of a character. Okay, so let's go over here. This is my favorite domain to mess around with because it's going to give her a physical damage bonus, which is not helpful for anything that we're going to show off here. So let's see how she synergizes with two characters. Now, yes, they're both 5 stars, so it's not quite as crazy. And a lot of the characters that I want to show you guys, I don't have built yet, but I think Xiangling is going to be relatively easy to build. I just got to level up her talents enough. But she should also fall into place and become quite good quite quickly. But we'll see, fingers crossed, that I'm able to make that happen. Anywho. Okay, the main character that we're going to be using is Baal, alright, who now has a little bit of health and can survive, unlike the first day we got her. We're just going to be using Venti. We're just going to be using Venti. This is it. Now, the one negative to this is that Venti, basically is on the struggle bus and does what Baido does better with the Viridescent Veneer set, which of course I have him on. So yes, Viridescent Veneer set. It's going to weaken enemies to their element that there is being affected by the swirl, all that good stuff. So Venti should be able to absolutely slay. And again, Venti hits so quickly that the Raiden Shogun's small counterattack is going to constantly be affected. Not only that, but he's an archer character, so can just detonate that just by shooting. So yeah. And just, yeah, the only negative is that Venti's alt does not take a lot of energy to cast, so she's not going to build the most resolve stacks. The good news is that he has a very short alt cooldown, so you could back-to-back this, and I don't think there's going to be many enemies that are going to survive this in general. So let's just see how this plays, and it's also going to easily be affected by Animo. So yeah. Also, I can hit people a little bit higher up. I'm going to cast this again, just because why not? And again, almost every enemy is dead. And if I wanted to, I could do this, although I do not have her alt begrudgingly leveled up all too much. She's doing like 2k. It's 5k, 4k. It's okay. It is okay. It's not great, but it is what it is. And it's a pretty easy win. And again, just the fact that you're able just to sit there with Venti, pop that off, and we only have these two characters, and they were more or less able to do it if I wanted. So let's throw Yoimiya in there. This is what I was thinking, by the way. Let's just do it. There's no point doing it twice, what we just did. But basically, Venti is insanely valuable. But I will say, just make sure you use your E before you get into everything. Otherwise, you'll have some downtime there, and that won't be as good. But instead of using the Raiden Shogun in the way that I was kind of doing it, let's use her as the complete and utter support build that she could do. Now, there's no real way you can run the Raiden Shogun. You might be able to use her in like a Noblesse Oblige team comp just to buff attack, but you need to play her enough so it's just like, why not just make the damage that she's dealing better and deal more electro damage with her counterattack whilst building energy recharge, which she can benefit from. So yeah, arguably I think you would want to go with higher energy recharge and all that kind of stuff than higher critical damage and critical rate, although I feel like you'll end up somewhere near the same numbers when it's all said and done. But let's do coordinated attack. Let's just use her as a complete and utter support. Let's do this, and then we'll do this. Sweet. Oh, no, wrong character. Ooh, Venti's about to die because we do need some HP. But yes, everything else is getting pretty thrashed, and now we're going to switch to you. Do this just because it's pointless to have our E going, and now we're just going to start building up energy, and things aren't going to survive enough for us to do this. No, maybe? Yeah, because she's energy resistant. Okay, so each of those we're building particles, a good bit of particles. I believe it's 2.5, which is great, and that just meant we can cycle into Venti and to her alt pretty good. Yes, there is a kind of, let's run it back one more time with this specific unit. Let's throw Bennett in there just to have some fun. Also, again, the one thing to note about Venti is that even still with the previous updates, he is still not sucking in the tall boys, at least I don't think. Okay, so all of them, except for, not even Bennett, has their alt. So now how should we cycle this? Let's use, all right, Raiden Shogun, boom. Yoimiya, boom. Bennett, stop it, Bennett. Do this, quickly. This, quickly switch to this. Might as well do that. I could play Yoimiya right here, but I'm just wanting to show you guys the chaos, especially using a little bit of the support ability yeah. Also, again, man, that's something that should not be undersold, is just the initial cast of her ult is just this giant, like, sheath and slash, which is already at 500, which is pretty good scaling. That can only go higher to 600, 800 potentially when you fully level it up. So just even that, if you just stop thinking about her as like a roaming DPS, that I think will help you. Because when you level up her talent to level 9, that one ability, her ult, just the cast itself, the quick cast, is going to do a lot of burst damage, and then followed up by just being a battery, just by doing a couple of attacks until your characters are juiced up, and then recycling into their abilities, and then just rinsing and repeating over and over again is not a bad play. But anyways, we showcased a lot of these characters good enough. Again, whilst they were getting sucked around, I could have just switched to Yoimiya and just started dry firing. That would have been okay as well. But I do want to see if another character can play with this character quite well. So alas, let's trade out Yoimiya for Hu Tao and see if she can also really work with our girl. Let's see. I do think Hu Tao comes with a shit ton of HP and healing by herself, so you can use more support DPSs and such. Also, just to change things up, because we don't want Bennett to heal Hu Tao, we're gonna use Zhongli and try to rip her power down a little bit. We're gonna do one of these. Hit me just enough. All right, we're good. Switch to her. I'll just get everything situated now. We'll do this. Again, just Venti in this is already like a lot, so we probably should stop using Venti. I just want to debuff them to Electro so that we can actually do a good bit. Yeah, so they died real fast. Anyways, yeah, the reason why that was a lot more efficient is because Zhongli shield debuffs enemies. So, you know, Zhongli really helping out here. To elemental damage. Anyways, so basically their elemental resistance got shredded by a lot. Zhongli I think comes in here with 30 or 20, and then Venti came in here with the 40. So just really extra weak to their elemental weaknesses. So all that. Anyways, I just wanted to see Hu Tao. So now let's just use Hu Tao and her in sequence. So we'll do some of this. No debuffs. We'll just do that and this and Hu Tao. So the counter attack, again, she's still able to dip into Overload. My only worry with Overload is that, yeah, that's the thing. What do you call it? If we weren't dealing with an enemy that can dodge around, would be, I think, pretty fine. Let's do this again, just to keep that uptime going. Let's do this, just because we just need a little bit more health. That'd be perfect. Yeah, so Hu Tao, you guys can see that she basically does more than enough AoE damage. So even if we're getting affected by Overload, just because she does so much AoE fire damage, she doesn't get affected by it at all. So she can really be basically be utilized quite easily. Also, I'm immune to electro reactions. I don't know if that means I'm immune in general, but here we go. Here we are. Yeah, it's not quite the same as Vaporize, but it still works, I think, just as, maybe a little bit less good than Yoimiya, actually, just a little bit. But yeah, also my Hu Tao isn't as built as my Yoimiya is the thing. So I'm also like, well, that's not fair to say. But yeah, my worry was that maybe Yoimiya would overstep Hu Tao, because with Overload, it can cuss his enemies far away, so Yoimiya can basically hit them from afar and it doesn't matter, although she can miss. Hu Tao doesn't have that problem either, because she just does so much AoE pyro damage. Yeah, like she just reaches too far, so she can't actually get like pushed out of the equation. And again, this is all Venti and her really work together, but that's only because these enemies you can mess with them essentially, whereas other characters you cannot. So let's go with Xinqiu. And we could also go with, this is going to be significantly less good. I just want to stress that. But this could, in a weird fucked up world, kind of work. So if you're just getting into the game and you only have like a Xiangling because she's free, but she's also really good now, even if you don't have that many constellations, she's really good. She just has a little bit of downtime. But say you wished on a couple banners, you got in and out of the game, you maybe got a Venti, you maybe got the Raiden Shogun, or maybe these are just the cute characters that you liked and wanted, and you got Shincho somewhere along the way. Basically, you have a weird team. You have a team of support DPSs with no real clear main DPS. I mean, Xiangling, a little bit, but not a lot. Or not really. Especially with the new artifact set that really buffs up her utility. Regardless, this can still very much work with this. But let's actually play the Raiden Shogun first and foremost, just to gain back some of our energy. Because we're not really here to show off her like, katana weirdness. We're here to let her generate some particles for our characters. And keep that uptime happening. And now every one of my other characters should be ready to go. So we'll do one of these, we'll do one of these, we'll do this, and then we'll do this again, and then we'll do this, and then this is up again, so might as well use this on top of just dealing some damage. But yeah, Shincho and everyone helping massively, especially with those procs. Wherever she is, thank you, little Shincho bolts. Appreciate you. Can never tell. And she's dead. I didn't really use Xiangling there, so we will when we go and do this again. But the thing that's crazy is we basically just back-to-back her ult because she's insane. Also, Xiangling will be doing virtually no damage. I don't have her on a weapon, I don't have her on any artifacts, but it should show you just the crazy AoE, to where this combination with Xiangling and Shincho, and then some good old overload everywhere, and maybe even locking them down with Venti, is wild. I will say Venti probably can get replaced by Kazuha, because just the elemental buff that having high elemental mastery gives you with him outshines Venti's suck power, especially when most characters in the game don't get affected by it anymore, which sucks. Pun intended. Anyways, okay, so we're gonna do one of these, this. We're gonna do this, because we just want to be optimal. This, Boba, quickly, quickly, Boba. Do this. Ooh, I don't think, yeah, no, I went the other way. No, it kind of worked out in a weird way. Do this. And now so Shincho, we could have switched to another character like Venti and just tried to get uptime on that, which kind of would have worked. Especially with how Boba just didn't get activated for that long. But this is up again, this, Boba again, and then this. And we can attack with her a little bit. We can go to Venti so that we just have a lot more uptime on Shincho's ult. So you weirdly can just use Venti as a stat stick, or the Raiden Shogun, although ideally Venti just because it seems like he attacks faster. So that way Shincho can be on 100% cooldown, the Raiden Shogun's counterattack can be on 100% cooldown, and then Xiangling can just be the good old melt or overload or vaporize whenever it hits. Also, it's just going to do enough damage, and also it's going to generate particles, because Boba, every single time he hits, is going to generate one particle, same as Oz. Yeah, and he actually attacks 4 times. Yeah, 4 times. And he also gives you a little bit of damage, a little bit of attack. Hey, what's good, guys? Me here in post and editing. I just want to let some sink in real quick that I didn't really notice whilst I was making the video. Xiangling has no artifacts and has 80% energy cost, the highest in the game outside of Baal, who has 90. Baal can generate your party members' particles like crazy, and it's only going to get more and more and more efficient later down the line when you level up her talent, so that she can even generate more particles when whipping around her katana. So albeit it may not be doing a lot of damage, it will be supercharging characters that have prolonged damage ults that benefit from having a high cost, which she can patch, and also she's going to amplify the damage it does if it costs a lot. All that is relevant and crazy, considering Xiangling was able to get her ult back to back with zero zilch energy recharge. That's incredible. So again, this weird build of like there's no clear main DPS can still work with the Raiden Shogun, because she just gets, if you build her properly with enough energy recharge, she can just back to back into her ult constantly on cooldown, and it takes a long time to queue up all of your DPSs or your support DPSs in the right way, like Xiangling and Shincho. No, Xiangling, you want to use your ult, throw Boba out, you want to use his ult, hit an enemy with this, and then if you wanted to, you could use Venti, or I've seen people use Bennett, just to give a little more attack to your whole party, because 2 pirate characters with Xiangling and Bennett give you a good bit of attack bonus. I think that's everything, honestly, in terms of team comp that I want to run by you guys. And again, just the idea that like Baal is not in her final form yet. Also, yes, Kujo Sara can work. I just don't know if she can work as good as characters that can really make use of what Baal buffs. And it's funny because I said this ever since Baal came out, where I remember hearing rumors about people talking about Baal being like, she's the first like DPS Archon, and I was like, I mean, I don't really know if that's it just doesn't seem like the play for like the Electro Archon to be super like attack oriented. It's like the little brother to Anemo and Geo, except its benefit is in its reactions, not in its base element being a utility element. Anyways, point being, when I looked at her kit, it felt weird even saying that, because it seemed like predominantly she was trying to be a support. And I think that's the problem people are having when they think the Raiden Shogun is weak, is she is seemingly very much a support. So again, the Raiden Shogun buffs up your attack and buffs up your ult's damage. Also, because of the way her kit works, you're also going to be getting energy back when you use her ult, which doesn't do a lot of damage, but does give you tons of energy particles whilst you use it. And yeah, also it does throw enemies around. It's also hard for her to get kicked out of this, so there's not a lot of interruption that happens. So both of these utility aspect of these abilities work really well, and also she's pretty easy to build because she just gets so many buffs from various different things. Energy recharge supercharges her critical damage and critical rate, also helpful to have on her. Attack percent probably less, but still just a wildly good character, at least to me. And a character that I think I don't know how I wouldn't put her on any of my teams, just because again, she's already doing good, and this isn't even leveled up. And all things considered, you could get even more energy. I feel like when you have this at level 9, there is no way in hell that enemies are not going to give you back a crazy amount of energy recharge. So again, we're getting 2.2. I could see this going to 3 or 4 when you get her all the way up to 9, maybe even 10. So you get a shit ton of energy particles back for every second or every 4 attacks, whatever it is. You're going to be getting a shit ton of energy back, which is amazing. So that's going to supercharge all of your other characters, making all of those support characters, the only weakness is the fact that they have low energy, not that bad. But also, it's kind of weird because the way things fall, if you build a good Xiangling, she doesn't need that much energy anyway, because you already have her on the one set that's going to buff up her elemental damage. And yeah, and the more elemental energy recharge you have, the better things tend to go. But I will definitely build our girl here eventually, some point. Maybe, possibly, who knows. I do know I can make this a god weapon, because I have 60 of these. Which is good because anyways, Hydro and Pyro, so we do bonus damage to people affected by Pyro, and she just is amazing at doing that with Boba and everybody else. So Xiangling again weirdly became like a passive character, but with the new artifact set and building her in a very like alt-centered way is massive, and she is really good with the Raiden Shogun, especially considering the Raiden Shogun does overload and knocks people back, and then she just rips into people as well. Wildly good. But yeah, also this thing isn't considered an attacking thing, so like her ult, unlike Xingqiu, requires you to attack in order to get the spears happening. Hers is just damage around her, which is good and bad. It's good in the sense that you don't need to like have a main DPS that can fire quickly. But bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, I am just wildly excited for like the potential of this character. Like we're at level 6, like talent 6, level 80, and she's already doing what she does fairly well, and especially like seeing, I was broken when I seen Yoimiya scaling. Or like what I mean by that is like when you level up her talent to 6 to 7 or to 9, there's like 10% to 15% buff, whereas her every single buff you're like, oh shit, everything's getting juiced up by a lot. You're getting more energy back when you're using her ult. Her ult's hitting hard. Her stacks of resolve are going further. Her base multiplicative damage numbers are also going further, and she's at talent level 6. That's huge. And also you have like she seems relatively easy to build because she has so many avenues where you can build her. You can go energy recharge. If you got a lot of energy recharge, that's awesome. If you got a lot of crit rate, crit damage, you can go with that. If you got a lot of attack percent, that can also work. Elemental mastery, maybe, although again we're starting to get less valuable with that one. But anyway, she has a lot of things that she can do to go very far, which is awesome. Again, it seems like a character that has plenty of hope and plenty of investment that can yield more and more from you, and she seems like a character that can go really, really far. What I mean by that is not only what I just mentioned, but also the fact that she is, by all accounts, an energy bunny. An energy bunny that also gives you additive damage and increases your other character's ult's damage. That can be slotted in to any team and be very, very good, because there's no character really in the game that, at least to me, is as good as as good as the Raiden Shogun, as giving all, not just one or two, all of your characters back energy incredibly efficiently, also whilst dealing damage while she's providing you with that effect, as well as giving you multiplicative damage, as well as buffing their other damage. The only negative is that she's dominating the elemental reaction pool, which is a pretty big negative. But all you need to do is just build a team around utilization of characters like Shang Ling, or Shin Cho. Shame Baido doesn't work. I really hope they do fix that, because I just don't get why that character is being excluded from the meta, or like the coordinated ability. Seems weird. I don't think it would be overpowered. I think it'd just be the same as other characters, maybe a little bit better, because you weaken enemies to Electro, but why wouldn't you just use a Venti or a Sucrose to weaken enemies by 40%, not just 50%, you know? Also, you're buffing up Elemental Master with Sucrose, so you're increasing your reaction to overload damage and all that shit. Just seems weird the way that character is excluded when there's better options, not only, but yeah, weird. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. This has been the Raiden Shogun, my first impressions. Unlike Eula, where day one I had doubt, the Raiden Shogun, especially when you look at her from a completely, like, utility perspective, like a support perspective, seems fucking flawless. And then if you just consider the fact that she still has room to grow, her damage, albeit maybe not like 30k, has stupid AoE, and can synergize with so many other characters. I just see how that it's not the same as other characters I had problems with, i.e. Yoimiya. Although Yoimiya works really well with her as well, so it's not all, boo-hoo. But anywho, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. I just want to talk about this because I feel like it was somewhat relevant to the conversation at hand about the Raiden Shogun. Is she worth it? Do I suggest pulling on her? It depends. Do you want the Raiden Shogun or the Mermaid Girl, or are you a really, really low spender who can't, basically free to play, who can't spend anything in the game, and you have to skip 3 banners and not 2, like other people? In that case, yeah, there's rumors that Ganyu may be coming in 2.1, the beginning of 2.2, the beginning of 2.2. So maybe save for her. Although, man, I don't know. I just think, again, you could throw her in a team with Ganyu, and I think she would be equally as fun. Fine. Damn my brain. Quick test. Does the Raiden Shogun work with the waifu, the extraordinaire, you guessed it, Ganyu? I did not forget, you forgot. Also, the buffs I have in the domain, just to make things more skewed, we're increasing her elemental burst damage of Ganyu's as well, which already hits like a absolute truck. Anyways, we're also increasing the electro damage of the Raiden Shogun, because she, of all people, needs a little bit of help in that regard. Boom! Some of this! This! Can we switch yet? I think we can. Here we go. Okay. Ganyu! Shit! Shit, I should have done this first. Shit. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. Yeah, see, coordinated attack is still popping off, and with the way Ganyu attacks, it's 100% uptime, so it's just fucking wild. Anyway. But yeah, there's just so, because Ganyu does stupid AoE, the Raiden Shogun does AoE, even though we're detonating super conduct, which is not insane, it's just the fact that they're just good on a passive. Together, especially. Back at it again! And again, we have ults, so like the thing with, what do you call it? That's something I should actually talk about as well, because I didn't realize how much that plays. That's pretty synergistic, actually. So one of the things with Ganyu is that her free-to-play weapon incentivizes you to have her ult at 100%, the Yoimiya one. So if you are going to be hopefully getting Ganyu in the future with their banner whenever it comes, one of the weapons that's viable for Ganyu, we're really stretching this video, I'm so sorry, is this one. Basically increases your normal attack and your charge attack by a lot when you're at 100% energy recharge. So people could be like, well, that's shitty, because, Ganyu's ult is amazing. Well, if you rock her with the Raiden Shogun, you might just get your ult back instantly as soon as you switch to her, do some damage, and then go back to your a main DPS that can do a shit ton of charge damage. Now, I will admit that Ganyu takes a long time to fire, so she's going to be really benefiting from characters like Venti, who's keeping the counterattack up on 100%, or like Official, or like ideally Shangling, I think would be really good for her as well, keeping that cooldown. And again, Ganyu's ult also counts as a counter attack, so something that can maybe synergize and work within the kit if you're planning on building her in a weird free-to-play way or low spender way. Maybe something, who knows. Regardless, my friends, basically Baal, I am very, very much enjoying. And again, I think she makes, you can put her in anywhere and she's not gonna do poorly, especially with, she's already doing okay damage, she's already being okay, and she still hasn't had all the investment that she could have. But again, I think for people who are looking at Baal in a weird perception, I think she is very much a support DPS. She is going to support the functionality of all of your characters doing DPS in the sense of doing her ult, getting back energy like crazy, and all of those things. Whereas other characters are just bad at what they do. I think Baal is good at what she does and can dip into a little bit about being like a main DPS kind of vibe. But we'll see. We'll see what the future holds. Maybe if people wail out on her and show her at like best possible outcome and she's okay. I don't know, but I do think when you get her talents up to like at least level 9, you should be seeing a shit ton of energy come back, a shit ton of counterattack damage, and all of your damage in terms of your ult is going to be improved because base scaling is increased, resolve stacks increased, energy recharge given to your teammates is increased. Yeah, and also initial burst of her ult is increased by a lot. So all that should work in cumulatively making her significantly stronger, but requires further investment. I'm down. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Hope you guys do enjoy the rest of the day, and goodbye.